a small country in the eastern Himalayas situated between two superior countries of China and India. It has never been colonized by other powerful countries and was isolated from the rest of the world for more than 6 decades. The only carbon-negative country in the world, and where killing anything, even animals, is illegal, and a nation where the citizens' happiness is more important than its economy. It might sound like something from an alternate universe, but this is all true for the country of Bhutan. You've heard it right. Also known to be the land of the thunder dragons, Bhutan is a one-of-a-kind country where nature and culture tops over anything else in the country. Want to know more about this bizarre country? Stay tuned until the end of this video. This is HTL World, where knowledge is served about the life you deserve. Chapter 1. Bhutan's Monarchy. Throughout the years, the small country of Bhutan has had a history centered on religion and culture. In 747 AD, the respected religious leader Guru Padma Sambhava arrived in Bhutan from Tibet and introduced Buddhism to the nation. Legend has it that he rode a tiger to Bhutan and there vanquished the wicked spirits blocking the path for Buddhism to flourish. This extraordinary guy, also known as Guru Rinpoche, is virtually as revered as Buddha himself. He also established Mahayana Buddhism as the most dominant religion in Bhutan. 800 years have passed. Another refugee arrived in Bhutan. A lama named Ngawang Namgyal. The wealthy families of western Bhutan were crucial to Namgyal's early success in the kingdom. He began construction on dzongs, or fortified monasteries, in each of the region's major valleys, beginning with the Simtoka Dzong in Thimphu. These grew quickly and became centers of governmental and religious power in each area, and they continue to be a striking part of Bhutanese culture and geography. He became known as Shabdrung, which means "at whose feet one bows," after a string of triumphs against competing subsect leaders. When Shabdrung died, his death was kept quiet for 50 years in order to find a legitimate heir. To maintain his leadership, Shabdrung believes in the Buddhist concept that he will be reincarnated and will eventually succeed himself. This poses a problem for Shabdrung's court. Finding the reincarnate Shabdrung in his new body, a new successor was nowhere to be found. Shabdrung's death was hidden from the public for more than 50 years as the lack of leadership caused local civil wars. It was at this time that the Shabdrung's power in Bhutan receded. Namgyal's attempts to establish centralized authority were ultimately fruitless since regional governors and the Penlops eventually gained control. There emerged a patchwork of semi-independent regions, each headed by a Penlop. However, Bhutan's unique culture and character remained intact, opening the door to the prospect of a united Bhutan. The latter half of the 19th century was a time of relative anarchy in Bhutan, with power factions increasingly revolving around the Penlops of Paro and Tongsa. They fought with each other for control, with traditionalists preferring to keep close relations with Tibet while modernists favored joining forces with Britain. The battle was resolved, and the hereditary monarchy that now rules Bhutan was established with unwitting assistance from the British. A British expedition traveling to Tibet in 1903 stopped in Bhutan. The Paro Penlop was cold to them, but Ujjain Wangchuck, the Penlop of Tongsa, was quite friendly and helpful. He went along on the journey and worked to secure a positive treaty between the British and the Tibetans. Ujjain Wangchuck was knighted by the British shortly after his return from aiding them and gaining widespread acclaim in Tibet. In 1907, Bhutan established its first absolute monarchy with Ujjain Wangchuck as its first king. Fast forward to 1972, when the third king of Bhutan, Dorji Wangchuck, included his son in government activity and designated him Crown Prince and Penlop of Tongsa. Just months before his death, his son, Jigme Singye Wangchuck, took over as head of state. In addition to continuing his father's reform and development programs, which included investing in the country's infrastructure, schools, and hospitals, Jigme Singye Wangchuck also made efforts to protect Bhutan's unique cultural traditions and pristine ecosystems. In 1988, Bhutan instituted a policy mandating universal observance of Buddhist tenets. He ushered in free elections in Bhutan in the late 1990s. Although the monarch retained extensive authority, especially in matters of national security, he now shared authority with the Council of Ministers, whose leader became the country's de facto prime minister. By the turn of the millennium, Bhutan had made strides toward democratization and had broken down many of the barriers that had kept it geographically, politically, economically, socially, and technologically isolated throughout its history. With the king's 2006 abdication and subsequent transfer of power to his politically progressive son, Jigme Khizar Namgyal Wangchuck, this campaign gained momentum. Chapter 2. There is a lot of things that Bhutan doesn't have that the rest of the world had. However, it doesn't necessarily mean bad for the people of the nation, as some of them are against their beliefs or deemed unnecessary. Here are some of the things that Bhutan doesn't have that the rest of the world does. Massive infrastructure. Thimphu, Bhutan's capital city, unlike many other Asian cities, is not overrun with skyscrapers due in large part to height restrictions that have limited new structures at 5 stories or less. There are no international brands in Bhutan. Government laws and restrictions make it challenging for international companies to break into the market. As a result, Bhutan lacks any high-end boutiques, name-brand stores, or fast food chains. There will be no McDonald's, Starbucks, or Adidas stores. Bhutan is filled with numerous gift shops selling traditional arts and souvenirs. Bhutan has no traffic lights. No traffic lights can be found anywhere in Bhutan. There isn't a ton of traffic, but when there is, drivers are well behaved and keep things moving smoothly despite the lack of stop signs. Thimphu, the capital of Bhutan, has police officers in charge of directing traffic at major roads and intersections. Chapter 3. Good things about Bhutan. Bhutan is a small country and not as developed compared to its surrounding neighbors, but it does stand out in various aspects that no other countries might have achieved. Here are the 5 good things in Bhutan. The world's only carbon-negative nation. Since it takes in more carbon dioxide than it emits, Bhutan is the only country in the world to be carbon negative. In recent years, Bhutan has faced a serious problem due to the pollution and emission of roughly 2.2 million tons of carbon dioxide per year brought on by firewood gathering and industrial expansion. However, it is carbon negative because its thick forests serve as a carbon sink, soaking up excess carbon dioxide. It is not allowed to kill anything. Among the many restrictions placed on citizens of Bhutan is a prohibition on the killing of birds and animals. In other words, they give environmental protection a lot of thought. Nevertheless, they consume a lot of meat. This rule of law is based on the Buddhist tenet that it is wrong to take the life of another being. All meat consumed by the people of Bhutan are imported from other countries, including the beef. Outlawing the consumption of meat has been recently considered by the Bhutan government. The citizens enjoys free education and healthcare. Government action has been taken to guarantee universal access to free healthcare and education, despite the country's relatively low GDP. It wasn't until the 1960s that the country adopted Western educational and medical practices. The newborn mortality rate is still high, although it has dropped significantly. Education is still mostly provided by monks, but efforts are being made to raise the literacy rate. There is much work to be done, but the government already serves as an example. Bhutan has an unselfish king. King Jigme Singye Wangchuck of Bhutan's selflessness in a world where dirty politics and corruption are necessary to rise to the top is both shocking and uplifting. Realizing that Bhutan would not always have a good and honest king, he favored democracy and elections were held alongside the creation of a constitution in 2005, transforming Bhutan into a constitutional monarchy, proof that Bhutan is as tranquil as its reputation suggests. Happiness prevails over the economy. You've heard that right. Gross domestic product is not used in Bhutan as a measure of economic success. It has implemented a new indicator of success called gross national happiness. Sustainable development, preservation and promotion of cultural values, excellent governance, and a healthy environment are the 4 pillars or quantitative indicators that the Bhutanese use to calculate GNH. That's great news about Bhutan for sure. Chapter 4. Bhutan's unique things. As one of the changes imposed by Jigme Singye Wangchuck as the head of state of Bhutan, he declared gross national happiness is more important than gross domestic product. As the term implies, sustainable development should prioritize non-monetary components of well-being alongside economic ones. Bhutan's goal in developing the Gross National Happiness Index was to have a tool that could be used in policymaking, and that would provide incentives for the country's government, NGOs, and enterprises to work toward improving GNH. Traditional categories of socioeconomic concern, such as living standards, health, and education, are included in the GNH index, but so are less conventional sectors, such as culture and mental health. This index is more than just a subjective psychological assessment of happy, as it reflects the state of the entire Bhutanese people. Health, psychological well-being, education, time use, good governance, cultural diversity and resilience, ecological diversity and resilience, community vitality, and living standards are among of the 9 domains that consist the Gross National Happiness Index. It's possible that a single psychological question on happiness, like taking everything into account, will you say you are very happy, rather happy, not very happy, or not at all happy, could serve as a proxy for gauging a country's level of gross national happiness. But that's not the situation here. Bhutanese goals and Buddhist notions of happiness are very different from what is typically meant by the term happiness in the West. Under the framework of Bhutanese concept of happiness, a wide variety of facets of human well-being are considered, from the more conventional but still important realms of income, health, and education to the more novel ones of leisure pursuits, mental health, cultural engagement, and ecological diversity. Chapter 5. Bhutan is a small country with a very rich in history and in culture. It serves as an example for other countries on cultural and environmental preservation, and that a country's progression is not solely dependent to its economy. That growth does not only mean development in infrastructure and wealth, but through their holistic approach, they were able to grow by enriching the people's well-being with the simple approach of happiness. Moreover, this country shows that it takes a ruler with political will who loves their people to lead a country under major crisis in its history. It's about time for other countries to follow the lead and realize that culture and beliefs could be a catalyst for progression. Now that you've had a glimpse of the beautiful country of Bhutan, does it surprise you as one of the most isolated nations in the world? Would you like to travel in bizarre country? What would you do when you had a chance to travel to Bhutan? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to click the like, share, and subscribe button so you will not miss our latest videos. This is HEL World, where knowledge is served about the life you deserve. See you in our next video.